Welcome back to my No Name channel. I'm Bruce Pullman, and this is another Bali Covid-19 update for September 3rd, 2020. September 3rd, right? Yes, it is. And what do we have today? Well, we've got the numbers as usual, and not looking particularly good. And then hotel workers demonstrate at the DPRD in Denpasar, and an update on the Kintamani story, which I talked about a couple of weeks ago, and that's link is up here. And then burial cost in Buleleng and problems with burial costs for COVID-19 patients. And then around Singaraja, we talk a little bit about that. With a couple of little film clips, and follow it up with a wrap-up. And so that's it. And let's get started. Okay, numbers. Well, second day in a row we've had record numbers here in Bali. Yesterday, 160 cases. Today, 169. Yes, we're getting up there. And what are the numbers? 5,536 positive cases now in Bali, 4,635 recoveries, 75 deaths. So deaths have been going up and up and up, and 826 active cases. And it was just a little while ago we were at 400. Now we're back up to 826. So it's going up. And where have these cases been? Karangasem, 32. And Buleleng, my home, 31. Although there's another story that says 40. I think that was yesterday. And then Denpasar, 27. And the Buleleng cases are up because the government is getting better at tracing. And they were tracing previous patients, and the cases have been spread around the Regency, but Buleleng subdistrict is number one. That's my subdistrict, Buleleng subdistrict. Patients are mostly asymptomatic, and so there's patients being treated at hospitals around Singaraja, and asymptomatic patients and less severe patients are being quarantined at home and being followed up on. So the numbers aren't looking good, and well, there have been continue to be calls to open Bali up, but at this point, as I've said before, how many people actually want to come, and do we really need to bring people in? And I'm going to talk a little later. Oh, right, I left that out of the start. What's happening in Korea? Right, Korea was the poster country of how to take care of COVID-19, and they're still doing a great job, but the numbers have been shooting up there, and so I'll talk about that. So those are the numbers, and there's my favorite map that you saw, and let's go on to the first story. Bali hotel workers protest illegal firings. So, how many? Well, over the period of the COVID-19, there have been estimated 74,000 workers have been placed on involuntary home leave with no pay or with partial pay, and 3,000 workers have been terminated. So there was a demonstration. Hundreds of hotel workers went to a demonstration at the Provincial House of Representatives, known by its Indonesian initials, DPRD, and they want the legislatures to summon the hotel employers who have unilaterally terminated workers' employment. Now, according to this article and according to Indonesian labor law, termination can only be done on a bilateral negotiated process. that includes severance pay. And these have to be agreed to by both parties. So this is a bilateral process. What the protest is about is that hotels have been firing or laying off people unilaterally. And the protest was organized by the Federation of Regional Independent Workers Union in Bali. And a union spokesperson said that the employers have been using the virus as a justification to operate outside the law and unilaterally terminate workers. They want the government to immediately reopen tourism. Okay, this is a separate issue. So there's two issues here. One is that they want tourism reopened so that they can work. But the primary issue of this protest was that they want the employers, the hotels, and there were some hotels listed in the article. You can find that down below. I'm not going to go over the hotels. And so according to the deputy chairman of the DPRD, they are going to summon the heads of manpower department and tourism, as well as the hotel owners, to find out what is going on and if in fact workers' rights have been violated. According to the chairperson of Commission 4, he said that if it's found that employers have been laying off or terminating employees without a legal process, they'll be sanctioned. One of the sanctions is the possibility of losing their license, and that the government takes this seriously because these kind of actions disrupt the harmony that Bali is so well known for, and especially in these times when people are starting to get a little testy. We've been in this situation now since April, and here we are, September. And so tempers sometimes get short. Economically, we're in bad shape. Indonesia as a whole is at the verge of recession. Bali has been the worst hit. Our economy is down over 10% so far this year. And I'll talk a little bit about that close to the end, about what's happening right here with a couple of video clips. So let's hope that this is worked out for the hotel workers. What are the hotel owners doing? I don't know. I'm not involved in this. I don't know any hotel owners anymore. But there needs to be a just resolution of this case. And okay, let's go on to the next story. And the next story is the Kintamani case. So I talked about that. I think the August 25th case where there were complaints about fees being levied, sometimes irregular amounts, and to whom it wasn't really clear, and for what it wasn't really clear, in cases of people who said they were just passing through and they were fined just for using the road. Well, the Bupati of Bangli has answered all these, and he said that they are going to cease collecting all fees for the current time for all tourist sites in Kintamani and the Bangli area, starting yesterday and lasting until December 31st. Okay. He noted that the Bangli Regency has lost a lot of revenue because of the lack of tourists, and that this tourist revenue is factored into Bangli's budget. Nevertheless, he said that he was going to relax the levies until the end of the year in light of the current situation, the pandemic. But he said that they would be reinstituted starting January 1st because the fees are an important part of the Regency's budget. But he noted that the amount of fees and the process for collection will be reconsidered in future meetings so that everything is transparent and above board. So good news, if you were traveling to Kintamani, there was a complaint on social media the other day along with a little ticket showing a guy who paid 50,000 rupees for using the road. And I admit that I wanted to go up to Bangli to take my drone up there to fly at a couple of spots that I know that would be really cool to fly my drone at. And I thought, I'm not going to do this and get into a hassle with paying fees. But sounds better now, so hopefully next week I will take a quick trip up to Kintamani, maybe visit a friend in Ubud too, and to see what's happening up there. So we'll see. And next, let's talk about what's happening in other places. So Korea specifically. Korea's back in lockdown. The government has declared a nationwide lockdown in order to try to stem a second wave. And second wave numbers have been as high as 400. Now, remember, this was not long ago. Korea was down at zero, single digits every day. Looked like it had been done. Countries all over the world were looking at Korea the way that they had done it, the Korean people. Everybody wearing masks, practicing social distancing, being responsible. But the second wave is back, and the numbers recently, as August 16th, were down, and then right at that time, numbers started to go up. The government began tightening social distancing rules at that point, but the numbers continue to rise. There's outbreaks in particularly in a number of small churches where there's an issue going on. The church is saying that the government is against Protestants, against religion, and the government saying that the churches are acting irresponsibly, holding meetings with not practicing social distancing, not practicing mask wearing. So the government, the government has asked the public to cooperate. And the Seoul's acting mayor has asked residents to freeze their activities as much as possible until the end of the week. And I was talking to a doctor in Korea yesterday, and he said they're getting to the point where they're running short of beds to treat patients. And so they're asking patients who are asymptomatic or who have a mild case of COVID-19 to stay at home. Compounding this is also a nationwide doctor strike. And so things aren't looking real good in Korea. So for my Korean friends and subscribers here, I talk to you every day. I'm hoping that things are going to get better soon there. What's the lesson for this that we can learn? It ain't over till it's over. Even when it looks good, it can get bad quickly. And so we have to remember that. Okay, let's get into here at home in Buleleng. So a problem about funeral cost. Okay. Complaints about the burial cost for COVID-19 patients, and this happened in Singaraja area, which is about 20 kilometers down the road from here out to the west. Legislatures in the Buleleng DPRD are questioning the transparency of the COVID-19 budget in Buleleng because they've been receiving complaints from several families about burials. And this is related to the necessity to act quickly in a lot of these cases, and you have to follow health protocols, social distancing too. You have to follow certain health protocols when you're burying dead people who have been diagnosed as a COVID-19 patient. And the families of the dead are complaining that they're having to foot the whole cost, and that it's very expensive. And for people who are on a limited budget, have a limited income, this is extremely difficult. And they're asking, why isn't the government helping us? Don't they have money? And according to this article, the government, Buleleng has 57 billion rupees to deal with COVID-19. And according to one member of the DPRD, families are not supposed to be burdened with the cost of the burial process. And so members of the Democratic Party said that it's difficult to get data on how this money is actually being spent, and so meetings are underway to resolve this problem. And the burial process in Indonesia varies from religion to religion. Muslims have one way, Hindus have another, Christians have another. But COVID-19 has made this more difficult. It's happened all over the world, but especially in a place like Indonesia, where religion is so important and rituals are so important that families need to have as much support as possible here. And just on a very close note here, in my neighborhood, one of the residents of my neighborhood died recently and was diagnosed, well, a suspected COVID-19 patient. The hospital said they needed to keep the body while they were testing to see if, in fact, COVID-19 was a cause of death. The family said he's been sick for a long time, so it's not an issue. Muslims need to bury their dead within 24 hours. And the hospital wanted to keep it for 3 days. Local residents went and protested vociferously, according to a report from a participant in this action. And so, as I said, things can get a little heated here. It's another one of those problems that comes with COVID-19. And so hopefully all this will be resolved and procedures will be underway to reimburse or pay for, actually, these funeral processes for patients who've died of COVID-19, and a more transparent policy. And so that's that. And what about here? So I went out the other day with my wife, and we took a ride on the motorbike. I wanted to go up to a couple of places in the city, up by the university, to see. I'd seen some ads for them on Facebook, and was looking at bakery and having lunch. And we kind of visited this place here. And very nice looking place. We asked if they had any pastry, any breads. No. When we went in, we had our temperatures checked, and we had to wash our hands, and of course we're wearing masks, and people inside were wearing masks. But there was no business going on. We went next door to a gelato place. They were closed. Well, they were closed for inside. They were selling gelato on the outside. And again, no clients. So things were dead. This whole little area, there's a lot of little restaurants, a gelato place, there's a pizza place, Warung Tomat. All of them were not doing any business, unfortunately. So we decided to take a ride to Lovina and go to a favorite restaurant in Kali Bukbuk. And along the way, traffic was heavy. As you can see here, there's a lot of people out. Everybody wearing masks, by the way. So we go down Jalan Mawar, and Jalan Mawar empty. Most places closed. Nobody, no tourists, zero. No local guys on motorbikes waiting to pick people up, drive people around, get them to come into their restaurants, get them to come into the hotels. There was just no action. We got down to the end of the road, down to the beach where the restaurant that we like to eat at is located, and it was closed. Now, we didn't notice until I went back home and I was looking at the video. It said open at 12 o'clock. We were there at 11:30, but there was no signs of life. Nobody was there. The place next door, just across the street, was open, and my wife kind of looked at it. There was nobody there. She said it's really dark. She likes a more open place, and she said, yeah, let's just go home. So we headed back. And restaurants, hotels, homestays, a lot of for sale signs, for rent signs. So it's not looking good up here. This is not a heavily trafficked area at all, even in the high season. Lovina is not the most popular place to go. Most tourists prefer the south. This area gets older tourists, tends to get older tourists. A lot of Europeans. It's traditionally been that way as long as I've been here. We don't have surf. We've got nice water for young families. The water is very calm here, but we don't get a lot of the heavy kind of nightlife that you have down south. And so, yeah, it's bad. Bad up here. How's that going to work in the long run? I don't know. Is Bali going to open earlier? I talked about, I think the last video, about Thailand, and they're going to do this limited opening for Phuket. Well, they've announced that they are not opening the rest of the country. Definitely not opening the rest of the country. So, everywhere in the world. Canada has just extended its no foreign visitors. And so the travel industry looks like it is going to be flat for the rest of the year. If you're going to come to Bali, if you want to come to Bali, you're thinking about making reservations, I would wait at this point and see what's going to happen. It's always possible that things will turn around, but not likely. And so I'm kind of sticking at this point with what the government said at the end of the year, and hoping that by the Christmas high season time things will be better and we'll be able to accept foreign visitors, that we will have the situation under control here in Bali. Right now, it does not look good. And just to wrap this up, if you are here on the island and you are not wearing masks, and boy, when we were out yesterday, every Indonesian we came across had a mask on. Every Indonesian. Because the fine, like I mentioned in the last video, the fine starts next week. And so if you get caught without wearing a mask, you're subject to a fine. So whether you believe in mask wearing or not, it is mandatory and you will be fined. So wear a mask. And that's it. I hope that I have better news on the next COVID-19 update. And I'll try to put a Singaraja snippets up with some drone footage, because I haven't been walking. My walking partner, my granddaughter, is down in Denpasar, still doing online schooling because schools still aren't open. And so we'll see how that goes. Okay, so stay safe, follow protocols. If you are in Bali, be kind to someone today. Thanks for viewing. See you next time.